had done a little bit more investigation. I think you folks had spoken with some additional people at or in the Dorchester house and had sort of divided and conquered. So a little bit of work in the security office, a little bit of work following up with I think another of the residents in the third ward. Now let me see. I don't want to get us too worried right off the bat, but I think.
And I think we were. What happened right at the end? Wasn't something imminent?
Yes.
No?
It's gonna happen real soon too.
So something had happened, which is that Willow had been in the security office alone, reviewing some of the footage.
Oh, saw a video of her sister.
Yeah.
And the night of the disappearance, and had seen Poppy wandering one of the hallways. Poppy had turned around and looked directly at the camera. And this was obviously a very, very jarring experience for Willow, and so we had promised that we'd revisit that. So Willow, if you do me a favor and make a sand check for me.
Oh, there it is.
There it is. I know.
I thought I was just feeling so sane about seeing the ghost of my dead sister on the security footage.
You're feeling, yeah, I know. You're feeling pretty good.
You're optimistic that she didn't really die.
That's right. All right. Sanity, you say?
Yeah, that's what I say.
Okay. Oh no! That's a fumble.
That's a fumble.
That's a fumble if I ever saw one.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness gracious. So
I did not expect that.
You did not expect that.
On the screen.
Exactly. So let's go ahead and
Uh-oh, he got the big book out.
I know. Just like gonna make me double check here.
I need to get my notes.
Please.
Speaking of sanity.
All right. So this I just need to double check because I knew fumble had a particular root to it.
Oh no, really?
Now you're wandering the halls. Sorry.
I know.
So Willow, if you could do me a favor and deduct 4 from your sanity for me.
I'd be delighted.
Good, thank you. The max amount is what a fumble gets you. And so you are, as the kids say, you are shook.
They do say that, don't they?
By this experience, and it's not enough to sort of force you to do anything in particular, but it certainly is a shock, and so I think some sort of reaction would be appropriate. You can tell me what you interpret that to be, whether that's. I
think it would involve something falling over and making a very loud clatter.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly, because I'm trying so hard to be calm and discreet and professional.
Right. And so maybe it's you pull back from the desk and as you do, you sort of drag the keyboard and the mouse with you, and it clatters onto the tile floor. You're pulling a couple extra peripherals with it, and you give a yelp, this shout, and just like James Brown in the midst of in the midst of a performance. And Michael Devon, the security assistant or consultant, pops his head back in. Say, oh, what's going on? Are you okay?
Just it's a little startled. That's all.
Startled by what? Did you find it? Did you see? What did you see on there?
I saw something that it was reminiscent of someone I lost. I know it wasn't there. It stirred a memory and it startled me. I'm so sorry.
Oh, okay. Is it something that that the doctor needs to see? Is it like what are you saying? Like, should I be worried, or you just saw somebody you recognize? Like, what's?
I think it's okay. I haven't found what I was looking for, so I need to look a little bit more. That's okay.
He's.
I'm very competent.
Very sane.
This sounds like a persuade.
Very sure-footed.
This sounds like a persuade to me. So why don't you go ahead and give me a persuade check?
Okay, that's fair.
If you fumble that, we're not taking you out of that. We're not rescuing you from the padded room.
No.
Ooh.
Oh my god, I'm having a rough day.
Jason, I think it's just you and me.
Yeah.
He says, yeah, I mean, I don't know. You seem pretty shaken up. Maybe you should take a break. Or check in with Dr. Dallin. I don't know. And you can tell he's being gentle about it, but he seems kind of firm. Yeah, I know he said you can take a look into this, but I feel more comfortable if you check in with him.
All right. Well, will you be here later? Maybe one of my colleagues could take a look.
Yeah, it'll be me or the other guy who's coming on, with the shift change. So one of us will be here.
All right. Well, this has been nice. Thanks.
Okay. So he sort of gently pushes past you and begins to like replug in the keyboard like it had set back up, and sort of quickly
I feel like one key would have popped off as like a reminder that I was there.
clattered
Where's
away.
the P?
There's the P.
The P for Poppy. Exactly. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. It's somewhere, and you just don't know.
It's lost.
Mm-hmm.
And he's sort of focused on that, but you look up and you see, and your eyes just are transfixed, because in the sort of suddenness of you being startled, pulling the keyboard away, you hadn't noticed that all of the cameras now are on fast forward and are cycling through these different images, flashing here, there. Like I said, there are 12 different monitors here, and they're going through, and sometimes you think every once in a while, you're seeing somebody sort of walk down a hallway, but then it almost looks as if they're like walking in reverse. And you're looking on another screen, and it's night and it's day, and it's night and it's day, and it's night, 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 night. And you're looking on one other, and every so often, it's almost like these eyes sort of flitting up to the camera and looking sort of directly at you, and another camera where somebody seems to be shouting directly into the camera, and you very quickly usher yourself out of the room.
I would have seen all that in great detail if I had not fumbled.
Or is it a consequence of it? Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Jack and Jacob, you both had, I believe, gone back upstairs. And if I recall, I think you had wanted to or you had had a conversation, right, with Dorothy Yale, I believe, or had you had that before? This is with Dorothy Yale, the former agent who felt like she could hear voices
Yeah,
through.
I had a conversation with her for a moment.
Yeah, and so you're upstairs, and at this point, it's probably late afternoon, getting on to be about 5 o'clock or so, and the 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 swirl of the place and sort of the rhythm of it is becoming more noticeable to you. Sort of the orderlies and nurses making rounds, and some faces you begin to recognize both on staff and sort of patients who were in and out of different rooms and hallways. And there seems to be relative orderliness to it. But you recall that a couple things. One is that you've already talked with Ed Myler-Wist. You've spoken with Dorothy Yale, and you know that of the other individuals of note, there'd been this Timothy Bale character who you understood was an Iraq war vet who had some sort of contact with these three missing patients. And I'll just remind you. So Albert, Jira, and Bess.
I got my notes right here.
Oh yeah, right there. See,
Albert Wilton, Jira Stark, D. Stark, and Bess Choja.
Yep.
Nice.
Sorry.
He
Dorothy
zeroed
Yale.
right in on that.
John Pio, convinced he is serving time at home. All right, sorry.
And Beefy Jaguar 22 just coming in to give us a thumbs up on the campaign, which is much appreciated.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. From all of us around the table, virtual table. But so Timothy Bale had been one of the individuals to look into, but then you also had questions potentially about other staff. Dr. Dolan himself, Esther Samagina, who's the head nurse, who had been helping you out earlier, but now you haven't seen her for a few hours, but you understood that she maybe had other responsibilities or something else that she was attending to. And of course, you had the note that Ed Myler-Wist had passed along to you, Jack, when you had been visiting with him. As well as in general, just this either healthy suspicion or paranoia around this figure, Agent Vance. So as you understood, actually, Dr. Barbas, who had given you this operation to follow up on, as well as the satellite phone and the leads that you've been following. So it's getting to be late afternoon. You have some choices. are you going to sort of regroup with each other? Willow, would you sort of go and seek out the other members of the team
I think so. Yeah, that would be my next move after
encounter?
the scene I made.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, you go ahead and go back up to the third floor, and you find Jacob and Jack there, and maybe the two of you are sort of putting your heads together about this conversation you had. What Dorothy Yale had actually made some remarks about certainly the cell phones that you carried, but then this large bulky satellite phone as well. She seemed unnerved by it, but then again, she seemed unnerved by just about any piece of electronics.
Sorry, I'm just connecting my notes.
Mm-hmm.
What time is it now? Sorry if you already said.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, probably around 4 or 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Get closer to 5.
I don't know. We're trying to make good speed, which is why we spent all day here. I don't know if we want to try to find Timothy Vale before breaking for dinner. Are we gonna go back for more butters? Or was it the butterscotch missing?
It's chocolate tomorrow, butterscotch for today, and unfortunately,
That's
they've already
right.
done up the batch.
Are we prepared to try to stay until the nighttime? Do we want to? You may have changed your thoughts on that,
I
given
know.
what you just occurred. What just occurred to you?
Which I would like to tell them about if I haven't already.
We can break right into, of course, you knock over wherever we're holding.
Guess what happened? Crash, 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 crash.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I mean.
so Willow comes up with this, right? She seems very unnerved, and you can tell her eyes are darting around. She's looking, into corners, and Willow as well. You keep sort of glancing up at the cameras with these little red lights lit on them, and you're thinking back to being on the other side of those cameras and the view that they were providing to all the different areas of the hospital.
All right, so you give us sort of how do you describe it?
Well, I would describe sort of coming across the footage of her, and what it looked like she had butterscotch pudding all over her face. No, I wouldn't say that. But I guess I'd also try and note that there were irregularities. It looked like it was hard to tell. Everything was in fast forward, but when I was leaving, it just looked real strange. Describe the sort of
Errors.
the errors, the anomalies, whatever you would use to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like we have to be here to experience this. Like, there's things we just have to see for ourselves. So you're going to have to put up with butterscotch a little bit longer, I feel like.
Yeah. And Jacob, how do you feel about this? What are you thinking?
Well, I'm a fan of all puddings, but
You're saying probably
He likes
good.
a chocolate vanilla swirl.
yeah, well, swirling pudding is much harder than swirling ice cream. So somebody can actually pull that off. Artiste.
That's right.
But but I'm feeling a little bit unnerved by the description of hearing about Poppy and the the fast forwardness.
Yeah.
I really wish I had my toy rifle with me,
Mm-hmm.
because somehow I feel like tonight we're gonna need that, but I don't have that. I left it back in New York apparently,
Yeah.
because that was smart. Um, but I've been trying to keep my eye out for any references to this whole situation with Germany that
Yeah.
I've been so sucked into for the last 20 years, with the Russo-German alliance and the Black Wind. So, does anything that she relates to me pop up and relate to that? Seem to relate to that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anything you've seen pop up so far in your visit? You mean?
Yeah,
Mhm.
it doesn't seem like there's been any real references to that, even though it's kind of been my obsession for the last 20 years. So,
Yeah. No, you haven't seen anything directly related to it so far. At least that stands out to you. But you, as you note, you're constantly on the lookout for any of the connections and um, just any sort of um, historical reference or item that relates back to that period. Certainly catches your eye. Um, you have this feeling, this gut feeling, that despite the fact that this alliance and this history that you've learned about never happened, something about it tells you that it has. You can't shake that feeling. um, Adriana's joining the game. um, so yeah, um,
just wondering,
yeah.
while I'm thinking of this, take a look at the phone, and I'm wondering where it's made.
Yes. So you look and you see a couple of things. So one, you would note that I think you'd taken a look at it before, and you note that there is this icon of a Pegasus on it, and the sort of stamp of the Seer Corporation, SEERE. And let's see, anything else that stands out to you? On that, just a note. Okay. You, yeah. So Seer Incorporated. You do pull it out. You're looking at it, and you see that it still has about half a battery left on it, and yeah, this little brand logo of a Pegasus. You're looking, and you can't see an obvious note of where it was manufactured. It looks as if there maybe was a sticker on the back at one point that had been scraped off, or sort of, as these things kind of do, just dissolved after being exposed to water. But the casing, you feel like maybe there would be more information if you like popped the casing and like looked inside, but there's nothing obvious on the exterior of the phone.
Sure. I pop the case.
Pop it. Pop it.
So you now you need to find a tool for that. Like you need to have like a screwdriver or something, because it's
There's gotta
not
be a
just
shop or something like around here, right? Like
Yeah.
a maintenance shop, right?
yeah. You could go over and ask ask one of the orderlies or the nurses, and they could give you a heads up on that.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, so you walk over and one of the nurses is there and she asks, "Oh, yeah, how can I help you?" And you ask, is there some place you can find a screwdriver or some sort of tool? And she kind of gives you a look and she's like, "Well, uh, maintenance would certainly have something like that. They're just down in the basement if you'd like to go check it out." I'm sure they could. I'm sure they have all sorts of things like that, but it's really restricted. Any sort of tools like that are kept in the maintenance section, and then any of the janitorial staff or engineers who are around here, you handle that. But your card should get you down there.
Sure, I'll go to the basement all by myself into
Oh no.
all of the sharp objects.
Fantastic. Jack and Willow, what do you think you're going to do?
Like, are you sure this is a good idea right now?
Nope.
Oh. Do we want to try and find the other guy? Do you think while he goes poking around in the basement for a screwdriver? Oh, you're muted. Ugh.
It was an excellent suggestion too. I already forgot what it was.
Never to be repeated.
Yeah. So I think that's a great idea. We could try to have that be sort of the last interview of the day if we can catch him. And if not, then we'll, go down to the basement and try to recover his remains.
Let's take a cautiously optimistic stance on this. Like, we're confident you're going to return.
Yep.
In one piece.
With at least one screwdriver.
With one screwdriver in a normal sort of expected amount of time.
Right.
And in your hand and not, say, impaled and part of you.
Not in him. Right.
Should we say if you're not back in 15 minutes, we come looking? Is that...
No, call us.
Yeah, just call. Just give a ring.
I'm sure the basement will have fine reception.
Just call.
Jingle.
Okay.
Just a little jingly do. Yeah. So Jacob, you head to the elevator and you see that there is in fact B marked on there. So you swipe your card and punch B, and down you go. I'm not sure if there's any sort of like fraught look as like the doors of the elevator are closing, and these two are like, see you soon. Yeah. And
it's gonna be like that Battlestar Galactica episode where it goes B, then bing, then bing.
Right. Or I was gonna say, or Jacob is like all of a sudden, hey, would one of you want to come? And Jack makes the universal gesture of, I'm good. Like with visiting the basement. I couldn't possibly
get in that elevator.
I couldn't possibly. Right.
I'm so full from elevator rides.
So full. Yeah.
And pudding.
Those really light weight limits on those old elevators.
That's right. It's one person capacity.
Right. So fantastic. So you guys were going to go visit Timothy Bale. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, you're able to get
juggling the competing things. Like Willow's definitely rattled, so it makes more sense to keep her company than accompany Jason, I guess.
That's how he's rationalizing it, folks.
Right.
Thanks.
So yeah.
I'm
So
just going for screwdriver. Nothing could possibly happen.
no, exactly.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
I mean, in fact, it's just right. He finds a screwdriver. He's armed himself with a screwdriver. Then
Did we warn him if there are any gaps in the pavement not to take a closer look? That would have been great for him to know.
would have been good advice. Yeah. Ding. So yes, you You go over and you're directed to where Timothy Bale is, and he is sitting in the lounge space on one of the other wings, just sort of quietly sitting by himself, and he is looking out a window toward the river nearby, and he sort of looks around as you come into the lounge space. And let's pull up his picture.
Can you remind me what we know about this guy?
Yeah, so what you know
My
is
notes
that
are not as good as.
yeah, he's an Army veteran. He served 2 tours in Iraq. Dr. Dahlem had said that he suffers from PTSD and some other conjoining issues, and but that's all you know specifically. You just know that he had apparently been on friendly terms with the
3 disappeared.
the 3 disappeared
Okay.
patients, the agents.
And I have a note that he may have seen something occult. He may have seen. My notes aren't specific enough. I couldn't fit it all on the page, I guess. But
Yeah, you something occult.
maybe that was from Ed Myler Wist.
Yeah, Ed Myler Wist maybe had remarked something about that
he's seen some things.
that he's seen some things, and in fact, as you come up closer to him, you see that he has on his lap this battered wire-bound notebook, just sitting on his lap, and he has a red pen, just like a Bic, with red ink. And you see that there are all of these. So there's a number of sort of written notes that crowd the margins, but then also these geometric patterns that have been sort of doodled in varying spaces. Sometimes more to the margin, sometimes central to this page that's visible, and so you notice that immediately as you come over to him, and he looks up and says, hello, can I help you?
Do you want to?
You gonna bond over your? You gonna bond over your red pens?
I'm like, I walk up to him.
You're kind of like, oh, yeah, a fellow red ink aficionado. Yes.
Is that a 0.75 millimeter or?
He likes a fine as opposed to a very fine.
Right. Extra fine.
But the page is open, like we can see it, obviously, right?
Yep. And so do either of you have occult at 30% or better?
Let's see.
I don't think I do.
Only I hadn't gone to the basement.
Ah.
24.
40.
Oh, nice.
You have a 40, Willow. Okay. Then you recognize something, which is that one of the geometric symbols is you recognize as being something that would oftentimes show up in rituals related to sort of occult rituals that you'd have, whether they'd be termed a summoning circle or a sort of a Wiccan symbol to be used to sort of focus power. It's not necessarily what you see. You haven't looked at it closely enough, but it seems to be sort of an occult symbol that under sort of in the tradition of the occult and witchcraft or spell casting would be something that is meant to hold some import, some amount of power. The other thing you notice is one of the other symbols on the page is very similar to a symbol that you remember seeing many years ago.
Don't say it.
No. This one, in fact.
Mhm.
So a circle with some letters and sort of an
Oh,
odd
yeah.
little shape. And you remember that this little golden symbol, but the one that you see on the page is not this one, at least as far as you can tell from the distance. And it appears to be some other symbol, but the fact that it's sort of an outer ring lettering and some sort of design inside triggers that memory for you. And you don't recall sort of
I
digging
can't place it.
extensively into it. You'd need to get a closer look. Meanwhile, Jacob, you have ridden down to the basement, and the elevator dings, and the doors open, and there is not a sinister hallway with like one single bulb hanging from the ceiling that flickers every now and again. It's actually a very sort of ordinary looking still tiled floor, maybe not as maybe a lower grade of tile, and maybe the sort of the walls are a little rougher down here. It seems as if this building's been here for a while, so they slapped some white paint on the walls, but it definitely seems as if this is sort of mostly brick, but with some foundation stone that you can make out. Not exactly a place that visitors or guests would often be in. More scuffs on the floor. And you see that sort of down the hallway, it goes for a while, and there are a couple branches off to the sides. But you see a little sign that has an arrow, maintenance department.
Well, golly, I think that's where I'm headed.
So you
say that out loud to yourself in the basement.
Well, golly. You head down a little ways, and here we go. You get further down, and there we go, mask. You go around a couple corners, following the signs, and you see that there are spaces down here that seem to be storing old equipment. In one instance, it seems like maybe there's storage of suitcases and trunks and sort of other personal effects behind a fenced area, like a sort of storage area. And you eventually you pass by a couple of rooms that seem to be devoted to equipment that's making the working innards of a building like this. A room that has a bunch of pipes in it. Another area that seems to have sort of the steam apparatus to keep the building heated, and you eventually get to a little area, doors open, little sign on the wooden door, maintenance department. And the paint around here, despite being the maintenance department, it's a little more chipped. The white paint's a little more yellowed, and the floor, the scuffs are much more frequent. And you see the hallway continues on. This is a large building. It's a large basement. But inside there's this old wooden desk piled with papers and nuts and bolts and tools, and a wooden desk chair, probably from the 1940s, with this older gentleman sort of reclining in it and humming along with a little radio that's playing on the desk over to the side. And as you look into the room, you can see that there are a number of workbenches and sort of tools, and even an area with a bunch of, a sorter of nuts and bolts and various pieces.
Hello there.
The guy sort of breaks out of his reverie and he says, hello? Hello? Who are you?
Jacob, I'm just here looking for a screwdriver. I'm just having trouble with this old phone. I was wondering if I maybe could get a look inside of it. Can I borrow a screwdriver for a little bit?
You're down here looking for a screwdriver.
A screwdriver, yeah.
I'm sorry, who are you again?
Certainly not a
Jacob?
resident.
I'm here working with Dr. What's his name again?
Dr. Dolan.
Dolan. I wanted to say Vaughn for some reason. Looking into some missing individuals, and just having trouble with my phone, and I was wondering if I could borrow a screwdriver.
Problem with your phone, and you want a screwdriver.
He's using his very large phone.
I am.
Very large old phone.
Yeah. Would you like to try and he seems he's clearly not been read in on visitors having sort of touring privileges around the place. Would you like to try to make a persuade roll, or he says you want I should call Dr. Dolan?
Hey, if you feel that's necessary, but all I'm looking for is a stupid screwdriver.
All right, try make a persuade roll for me.
Yeah. Bloop. And bloop.
Oh yeah. He sort of gives you a
So
look,
persuasive.
and this.
Yeah,
this,
you had him at stupid.
Yeah,
Stupid.
Stupid
He's
screwdriver.
Like, it is stupid.
it
Isn't
is.
There's-
Screwdrivers are stupid, especially flathead. He says,
What's the point?
"Very well. What is this? What is the phone you need help with?
What is the what?
What is the phone? The phone."
Yeah, so I produced the phone, and
He laughs. He sees this. I see the problem. This phone, it is very old. You need a new phone, my friend. He's laughing.
I've had this phone with me for a long time. It's just kind of, I'm used to it. It's like I'm a creature of habit. I mean, look at the desk and the radio you're using down here. You got to understand that these are, not just objects of functionality, but objects of reminiscence and of a better age.
Yes, so persuasive.
I understand. Sometimes the old things are best. They were made to last.
Exactly.
This building was made to last.
Oh no, this voice is sounding awfully familiar. Don't like that. I'm not there, but if I were, I would remark that it sounded
When
familiar.
exactly was this building made?
This building has been here for many years. Dorchester House is just the newest name, my friend. And the more you peel back, the more you find the history of this building. She is a beautiful old girl.
Is the name on the desk Castaigne? No.
No, it's So you do see that there's a little nameplate, sort of slid into a thing, and the name is Svarog Robert.
Oh no.
Is that who you were expecting? Is that? I
No,
don't think that name is in my notes.
the bookstore guy,
That is.
Robert Roberts. Robert.
Right.
I'm not there. It's just I'm thinking to myself, if I ever were to hear that voice, I'd say, "Ooh, so familiar."
So familiar.
I'm upstairs. It's fine.
What's his name again?
Svarog. Svarog Robert. And so Jacob, you've spent some time in the Slavic countries, or familiar.
Mm-hmm.
I think you would know that it is definitely a Svarog is a Slavic name, meaning probably bright or clear. And you seem to recollect, especially with your knowledge of the occult, that Svarog was a Slavic god of the sky and sun, sort of like an Odin or a Zeus equivalent in Slavic mythology.
Excellent.
Yeah. And and Robo QT3 is rolling in to say the history of Dorchester. His mom is from Dorchester, and his mom's name is Svarog, and his name is Robert. So it's just by coincidence that.
Wow. I feel like tonight the pieces are really starting to come together.
That's right. So Svarog says, very well, very well. You want to plug it in? You want to fix? What do you want to do with this? So
I want to open it up and take a look inside. We're trying to figure out where this fine piece of machinery was made.
Very well, very well. He sort of bustles you over to one of the workbenches, and he produces a flathead screwdriver. He's sort of a stout
flathead.
Yeah, and he
stupid screwdriver.
And it's like clearly it's shown. It's a screwdriver. It's been used a lot. But he hands it to you and he says, "This is an old tool, and yet it lasts. The old things are better, my friend." And he sort of hands it to you and looks expectantly.
That they are. So I start working on the phone, chat him up while I'm going. So what can you tell me about this building? Who designed it?
This building has been here since 1912. Back when it was a place. What do you say? He sort of runs through a few Slavic words. He's trying to find the word for like archdiocese, like Catholic, and he says, and was also a school for many years, Dorchester House School. And then Dorchester House Facility. Yes. I have been here. I have been here since it was the school. I have been here a long time. Dr. Dahlen has kept me around. And you're sort of prying into the phone as you're chatting back and forth with Svarog, and you finally find purchase on sort of casing, and you feel like one good crack or one good lever would crack it right open, and you're about to when the phone rings.
Hello?
Oh, we're not even there for the phone ringing.
Ding-a-ling-a-ling. You answer.
Hello? Yep.
Um, and you answer the phone. What the hell do you think you're doing?
I'm just trying to understand what's really going on with this phone a little bit.
What about the phone? What's going on with the case? Have you wrapped this up?
We're getting there. I think we had a couple of great interviews. Really had wonderful encounter with some pudding, and we're figuring out stuff, but we're not quite wrapped. We're getting there.
He's trying to coast on his very successful persuasion by saying
Yeah,
we're figuring
it out.
stuff.
Look, you need anything? What do you need? The group needs this done. What do you need? Cash? You need guns? What do you need?
I think we're okay for the moment. I'm just having a conversation with the maintenance man down here, and he's learning quite a little bit about the building. I think we're okay at the moment. Just wondering though, where did this phone come from?
This phone. This phone connects to me, and I connect to the group. I speak for the group.
Okay, well, nice conversation. I really enjoy appreciate your support.
Yeah.
This is the best phone call ever.
We'll be in touch when we need you.
You make a let's see, what would it
It was
be?
so good.
An alertness. Make an alertness check for me.
Okay, 1 second. Get back to the right screen here.
He's like, we're good.
We're
How
good.
are you?
Tell me. I'm fine.
We're learning some stuff.
What was that? Alertness?
Alertness. Yeah. You listen, and you know there's been some some crackling on the phone, and you aren't sure if that's sort of interference from being in the basement. But you also realize that some of the crackling, like that, is actually
Wait, did you go?
it's actually typing. There seems to be like a typewriter going in the background
Ooh.
behind the. In the same room or nearby.
You say, excuse me, what decade is calling?
So you're saying to him, we've got it covered. We're looking into it. And the voice says, "Good. Because Vance is out of his depth. And we need someone. And the voice just kind of trails off, and the phone, click, goes dead.
Whoa.
Oh, that was special. Oh, how long have you been here with the building? Here before, Dr. Balin?
Yes, I've been here since. He thinks back. I've been here since it was the school.
Oh.
Yes.
And when did Dr. Balin show up? When it converted to the
Yes, 88, 89. When was that? Yes. Dr. Dallin came and he fixed the place up, gave it new purpose.
And just wondering, where exactly are you from? Are you you don't seem to have a native Bostonian accent.
No, no. And he he is sort of looking at you intently right now and says, "Ah, from the old country. From the old country. I do not know that you would know of it. Miss Kolsk," he says. "Miss Kolsk. That is where I was born." And
That's not the name of the city, right?
it's the name of the city. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I've heard of it before. You know, the Russo-German alliance, the Black Wind, all of that.
He gives you a guarded look. The Black Wind. What do you know of the Black Wind?
Just rumors here and there, you know, about their attack on your fair city. And did that make you a refugee from their attack?
And Svarog kind of, he looks askance and he is rummaging in his toolbox again, and he says,
I gripped the screwdriver a little tighter.
you grip the screwdriver a little bit tighter, and he sort of turns back to you suddenly, and he has a like a putty knife with sort of a sharp edge on it that he has turned back to you with, and he says, "I left there many years ago, fleeing the Black Wind. No one has talked to me of this for many years. Why have you really come down here?" And then he turns the putty knife around and hands it to you. "This might open your phone more easily, friend."
Okay. Thank you for the knife. We believe that some individuals who have gone missing from here may have been pulled into the whole situation with your fair city and the Black Wind. We're here to remedy the situation if we can.
Are you still trying to open the phone? Have you...
Sure.
So you you're sort of levering it back and forth as Svarog is looking at you, and he stares at you, and he says, "But, my friend, no one is missing." And as he says that, the you finally get purchase the back of the phone, and the casing pops open. This injection molding plastic, injected molding plastic, and onto the workbench tumbles bits of soil and rock and dried, crispy fragments of plant material, like packed so tightly that there was no like rattling inside the phone, and so it just kind of spills out onto the workbench. And you see, sort of nestled in the midst of all this debris that's now sort of burst forth onto your fingers and onto the table, that there's a small glint of gold to a cap that's on a small glass vial, sort of tucked in the interior of this phone. And you're looking closely at this little green glass vial, and you see that there's a healthy looking green leaf inside of it. As you're peering more closely at it, a small golden bug sort of skitters around onto the other side of the leaf inside the vial. And you see it sort of flutter its little beetle-like wings inside the vial and then move to another part of the leaf. And you see that there are no electronics inside here. There are no functioning pieces here. There's just this dead matter surrounding this little shining bug. So Jacob, if you could make a sand check for me.
At least I didn't see Poppy.
Yeah.
That's true. You're still doing better than me. You're like a dirt bug phone. I mean, whatever.
My phone is literally bugged.
Hey-oh.
Oh.
Yes, so good.
Yeah. Go ahead and you lose 1d4 sanity
Okay.
from the realization that you have had a conversation on this phone, and even as you turn it over, you see that it's still reading half a charge on the battery. And Svarog is just kind of levelly staring at you right now. We're going to cut up to the third floor and the conversation with Timothy Bale.
Okay, well, just switcheroo.
Okay, switcheroo, just like I like to do.
So he kind of looked up towards us.
Mm-hmm. He did.
All right.
I don't know if you want to lead the discussion based on your recognition of the sketching stuff, or if you want me to.
Well, he's not watching Judge Judy, so I don't have that as an opener.
He doesn't have a bowl of pudding in his lap, does he?
No.
I mean that counts you out. Like, what else are you going to talk
We
about?
got nothing else there.
Exactly.
No, I'll say something to him about doodling. So I'll say, "Oh, I see you like to doodle. I do the same thing. Helps me keep myself busy, distract myself from what's in my mind."
Yeah, he looks back out at the river for a moment and then turns back to you and says, I use it to try and figure things out, to really see if I can make sense of it all. You know, I find it's good for focusing my mind.
What are you working on here? How do you come up with what you like to draw?
Oh, I mean, most of it, I just see the pattern, and I take it down. Sometimes people will say things to me that I'll add. Um, really, it's about just finding the cause and effect, right? That one little action can cause a chain reaction. So it's just trying to keep track of that, because I feel like if something should be done or needs to be done, then I just need to figure out how to make it happen. He just says very matter of factly.
Hmm. I want to zero in on the second symbol, the one you
Mhm.
said I recognized, but I couldn't quite place.
Yeah.
Just say it's so interesting what you have there. Can you tell me about this one?
Um, sure. Uh, so this is uh, Amdusius. Amdusius is, uh, and he sort of shows it to you, and it is this little sigil. You see, Amdusius. The letters to Amdusius are sort of in a circle around the edge, and there's this odd pattern that has sort of a triangle and circles, little sort of cross symbols, little curlicues, almost like uh, sort of medieval marginalia. And he sort of taps it out and is pointing different points on the symbol. And he says, associated with thunder, like a thunderous voice that can be heard in storms, and the blaring of trumpets. He says, but I actually
Bless you. This is my colleague.
Sorry.
He's sneezing.
He's sneezing. Bless you, he
I
says.
don't like to be ignored. I'm sorry.
But he looks at you both and he says, but I know his other name.
His other name? I don't think I. What do you mean?
Richard Hust. I know. Like I called him one day, and it was him. It was him. Richard
Called
Hust.
him? How?
I used the phone. And he sort of points beneath the symbol, and there's actually written in his handwriting. There are a couple phone numbers that were written and then crossed out, and there's one phone number that is written out and circled. He says that's his number, Richard Hust.
I'm gonna try and
Amdusius.
like commit it to memory.
Mm-hmm.
The number.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of hard to hear him, but it was him.
Huh. I mean, did you guys have a conversation?
He knew who I was. I just wanted to make sure I had the right number when I need to call him again.
I gotta ask. So who is he? Why would you need to call him again?
Well, he sort of gives you a look. If it's a little tricky to explain. I know I've tried to explain this before, but maybe I can explain it this way. And he sort of flips through his book, and he finds an open page, and he's as he's flipping, he all of a sudden pauses, and he flips back from the empty page. Do you Just, I have to ask, do you know by any chance Stephen P. Curson?
I don't think so, right?
No, it's not. It's not a name that
Not ringing a
immediately
bell.
you recognize.
No,
Stephen
no, I don't think I've heard
Pearson.
that name.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. All right. And he flips back to the empty page. That's fine. That's fine. So he says, "I've realized that there is there's a pattern, and I am key to making it happen. I know that seems odd, but this is," and he sort of starts drawing a line. So this is you, and he draws a line, and this is your friend, and he draws a line underneath it, and this is your other friend, and he draws a line underneath it, and this is your fourth friend, and he draws a line.
You're so nice to think I have so many friends. Thanks.
Yeah, no, of course. And he said, so the three lines continue on, and this fourth, and he sort of draws it, veers off. Not parallel, and not perpendicular, just off. And he sort of draws the line off, and then he begins to swirl it in orbit. And
In orbit around three of us, or
no.
just swirled off by itself?
Yeah, swirling off by itself. Gravity. Gravity is a tricky thing, and it pulls you in, and so you see your friend just spinning, and closer, and closer, and closer, and then he is drawing the other three lines. He says, you three, here. You are like this. And he continues the lines, but then there's a slight sort of angle down to them. You see, the gravity is here. This body goes into orbit fast and hard. The others, gentle, arcing. But if someone was to nudge, and he draws one of the lines sort of rapidly going into orbit around that other circle. Depends on how hard you're pushed. So that's what I'm doing. I'm figuring out where things need to be pushed and where they don't.
This is interesting. So what's the gravity? What's pulling? What's at the center of this?
Well, best I can describe it, it's reality. It's the truth, I guess, if you want to call it that. And it's powerful. It's a powerful force. It's strong. I've been looking at this for 3 months, and I don't think... Remember I said you can push something toward. I don't think you can push away. I just don't see it. Like the levers aren't there. Once you start in the arc, you're there, and you can fight against it and build up the friction and spin and spin and spin. And you'll spin for a long time, but eventually you get there. He looks at you. The only thing I've seen is when you lean into it, I wonder, you lean into it, and I wonder if you can, and he draws a circle and sort of spinning out. That's the only thing I haven't figured out.
Escape velocity?
Yeah. And he turns and looks at you. Exactly. Like the only way out is through. You get it?
I think I get it, but how do you know this about us? How do you know there's 3 of us? How do you know there's 4 of us? How do you know we're going through this?
I mean, because you have been talking to me about it. Like, every time we sit down and talk to each other, you keep talking about it.
This is the first time we've spoken.
Okay.
How many times do you think we've done this before?
How many times have you done this before? I mean, I guess we've had to have this conversation. What? And he flips back through his book. Let's see. 2 months ago, you forgot who I was and had to ask me again. But I felt like we'd been good for a really long time now and had kind of gotten away from that, but I guess it's a problem again. Where is Jacob anyway?
Downstairs in the basement.
They let him down in the basement?
To get something from the maintenance crew.
And he looks at you again. Look, I guess I'm a little confused. You said there was someone who was missing?
I assume that by the spiraling 4th person, you are talking about the person who's missing.
Well, no,
From our
you've told me Vic is missing. Like, Jack, I know that's a big thing for you, but like I thought you were talking about Jacob, like Jacob's missing. That's why I asked where he was.
No. We're here to talk to you about 3 other residents here that are missing.
3 other... Who's missing?
Choja, Albert Whitten, Jarrah Spark, and Best Choja.
He says, wait a second. What names? Like, show me. And you pull out the list.
Don't. What do you?
And-
Don't.
Awesome.
And you look at them.
Was I holding that piece of paper? Perfect.
Oh God.
And you look back at Willow, and she's giving you this incredulous look as well. As you're sitting there, one of the orderlies pokes their head in the room. Lights out in 10. Lights out in 10. I need you all to get back to your rooms. And the orderly looks at you, Jack, and says, "Where's Mr. Hess?"
He's downstairs in the basement getting a screwdriver.
Ha ha ha. Where is Mr. Hess?
He had permission to go down and ask for something from the maintenance.
All right, wise guy. And he turns around and he's about to leave. He's like, I need you all back in your rooms, and I'm going to look into this. And he starts walking down the hallway, and Tim Bale stands up and looks at you both and says, yeah, you probably want to get back. You don't want to be in trouble again when Dr. Friend comes on duty.
So
Doctor who?
Dr. Friend?
Dr. Friend, the attending at night.
I pat my pocket where the security pass is. Is it still there?
There's something hard and plastic in your pocket.
All right, so I'm gonna say bye to Tim. So we'll talk to him later.
Yep.
And then I want to step into the hall, I think, and then pull out the plastic.
Yeah, and so you slip it out of your pocket, and it is the lid to a box of mints that's been pulled off of the case.
We're in the suck.
And you sort of look out the window and you see that the dimming of the setting sun outside, sort of the rippling reds and yellows and oranges over the water of the river as the sun sets in the distance. And meanwhile, down in the basement, Jacob, Svarog sort of nudges you and says, "My friend, you'd best get back there. I don't want to see you in any more difficulties with the doctor. I won't tell him you were here."
Thank you.
Of course.
And thanks for the putty knife.
Of course. I can see why your phone wasn't working. And you step back out into the hallway. But this time it is a long, paint-chipped hallway with a single bulb hanging down, flickering off in the distance. And you look back the direction you would come, and there's just the shadowy corridor and the cracks in the walls back in the direction of the elevator. So I think we'll pause there as you three.
Just
Yeah.
one thing before we go. I did want to keep a hold of the phone or contents of the
Yes.
phone if possible, and also the putty knife if possible.
Yeah, you Svarog was putting away some of the other things, or sort of wandered back over to turn up his radio. He sort of, the tool chest stays open, and he goes back over to his desk, and you, as you're sort of heading out, you hear that he sort of turns up the music. And
Willow, you might want to update your little name there.
Basements are not fine. I take it back.
but yes, you have been able to palm the putty knife and take with you the get enough of the casing back over to contain the rest of the scraps inside the phone. As the music from the radio follows you down the hallway.
Yeah, and just one more question about the contents of the phone before we go for the night.
Of course.
Was that bug the same looking kind of thing as what was inside the Jello?
You know, it's funny you should mention that.
Oh,
yeah,
man, the
it's
mackerel.
the exact same mackerel bug.
Don't eat the cell phone battery.
Don't do it.
Okay.
Satellite phone battery.
I don't have any intention to, but, you know, I was just wondering if it was the exact same kind of beetle.
It absolutely was. You could never forget it.
All right.
Nice job.
Excellent. Well, thank
Well,
you
we got what
guys.
we wanted, I guess. Sort of.
I know, we were so worried what we would do tonight.
I know.
It was just decided for us. I mean, it made it so simple.
All the plans. All the plans.
I still plan on running my mint top plastic card through the security thing, and just to confirm that we're crazy.
I want to get back down to that security room and see if the P is still missing from the keyboard.
She's just yelling about the P. She just
They're
needs
not
to
going
see
to
if
let me
the
in
P
there,
is
are
there.
they? All of a sudden.
No, no. Especially when you're asking, yeah, if you need to see if the P is still there on the floor.
But in your discussion with her and the orderly, was that meant to be a vague hint of what was sort of going wrong for us, or was it still, us, or is she still okay at that point? I guess being you're not going to answer this, are you?
Keep going.
By all means. Yeah, well, I don't know.
I feel like looking back at it, it was sort of vague. It seemed
Yeah.
like it was okay for her to be there looking at that until she got upset, and then she was shooting away.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, she failed that role. So
She
Yeah.
sure did.
she sure did. She sure did, folks. But yeah, all sorts of fun things to explore
Man.
and investigate next time around. Fun things
That was good. The turn.
with the shift.
Well
I might
done.
not have a rifle anymore, but I got a putty knife.
Got a
He's
putty
got
knife.
a putty knife, and he has an old phone full of dirt.
And he's not afraid to use it.
He's not afraid to use it.
Hey,
It'll be interesting to see what that putty knife turns into when you try to take it out of your pocket.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
expect it to be a broadsword.
yeah, a cavalry saber. Yeah.
Did I have anything in my pockets?
Hmm.
I stowed an old pudding cup.
An
for
old
later.
pudding cup. Yes. You don't want to see what that's turned into.
No,
What
no, that's
butterscotch
fine.
pudding turns into. No, exactly. All right. Well, good night, guys. Thank you.
Awesome.
Good